Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Of course, as always, if you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. Also, if anything here we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the question the best of my ability. Gonna give it a few minutes to give people a chance to come in. I do need to step away from the computer for a quick moment, though. So while I'm gone, I'll put some music on for you guys. But when I get back, we'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back now. So let's see now. So let me just do a couple things here real quick. All right. So anyways, let me. All right. So with that being said, I said so for tonight, of course, let me go over quickly what. So we got three articles from Bounding into Comics. So we just came off of a slow bit of news, slow bit in the news cycle. So now things are starting to pick up again. As we do have three stories that came out, I think today from Bounding into Comics. One talking about Marvel Comics creator Peach Momoko says her Ultimate X relaunch will draw inspiration from my own time as a student. So we got an article regarding Peach Momoko. So Toei teases or teams with Amazon to produce a live-action Oshino Ko TV series and film. So we'll learn more about that. And it's also been revealed that apparently Netflix's English localization, of course, you know, getting a lot of their work through Crunchyroll of One Piece anime has changed the term new comma to new trans. So, you never thought you'd see that day come, huh? But so we got those three articles, plus of course all the latest in the wrestling wrap up on on the wrestling scene, as well as of course this day needs history, as we are winding down January here, the first month of 2024. Well, I got today and tomorrow left of it, so let's see there. Let me just do one more thing here. All right, so with that, all right, so with that, why don't we go ahead and get started then on our on the show here. Now, mind you, I've never yet met this young lady. I have no idea who she actually is, aside from the fact that she's an artist, from what I've been told. But I just like this name, partly because of course, kind of that sense of repetition, Peach Momoko. Because for those of you who may not know, the term Momoko is Japanese for peach. It's the Japanese word for what we call peach. So it's like she's saying peach peach. So that in of itself grabs my attention every time I see her name here. Even though I've never met her, I have no idea who she. I couldn't. If I was to be walking down the street, I probably, she'd probably pass right by me, and I wouldn't even know who she was unless somebody told me. So, I just like the name though. Let's see now. So, anyways, let's get into this. So, Marvel Comics creator Peach Momoko says her, in smaller quotes, Ultimate X-Men relaunch will draw inspiration from, quote, my own time as a student, unquote, compare the, quote, similarities and differences, unquote, between past and present school environments. Hmm. That sounds like a very interesting thing to compare. Let's get into this. Article by Spencer McCooley, published yesterday. All right, so in a potentially worrying statement which suggests that the publisher's arguably best working creator could be gearing up to hop on the, in smaller quotes, self-insert train, Marvel Comics writer slash artist Peach Momoko has teased that her upcoming relaunch of Ultimate X-Men will be heavily informed by both her, quote, own experiences during my own time as a student in junior high and high school, unquote. The eponymous creator um, of Marvel Comics Momokoverse um, line of comics, and an alternate universe as seen in the Demon Days and Demon Wars series, which reimagines the publisher's iconic characters and lore in a feudal Japanese setting, shared this insight into her next dance with Mutant Kind while participating in a fan Q&A session regarding the relaunch hosted by comic book news outlet AIPT. Asked by a fan, quote, in brackets, I observed that this take on X-Men seemed to be very much very much be a coming of age story. Were there any themes from coming of age stories you were particularly excited to explore in this series? Unquote. Momoko asserted, quote, I am writing many of the stories looking back at my own experiences and what I saw during my own time as a student in junior high school. Now, I know some people are saying it's a worrying statement about the self insert. Now, not now. Granted, even though we've had some pretty bad self inserts in the last couple of years, you know, notably, of course, Whoopi Goldberg, um, Mindy Kaling, you know, yeah, we've had some that maybe haven't been as bad, or like Keanu Reeves. You know, self insert. Granted, it's not something that you really want to get too much in the habit of, but it doesn't always have to be a bad thing either. You know, you can always utilize your protagonist to relate certain things maybe you've learned, just as long as it doesn't take up chew up the character or chew up the story. Um, while it could be concerning if, let's say, she decides to use this as some kind of soapbox, and maybe that's not what people want. You know, it may not be completely necessarily bad, as long as as long as it's still more or less the same character, and doesn't deviate from the character's traits too much. That may not necessarily be a bad thing. Let's see. But also keeping in mind and comparing the similarities and differences of the environments that young children find themselves in today. Unquote. I mean, in the context at which she's talking about thus far, it doesn't seem like, in this case, what she's hoping to do with the self insert maybe isn't the same as, let's say, what like Whoopi Goldberg and Mindy Kaling were doing with the self inserts of them. If it's something to where you can at least put into a character a way for other characters to kind of relate, and that's not necessarily a completely bad thing, as long as it doesn't overshadow who the character actually is, and as long as it's not something like ideological either. Hey there, JR. Hey, Zenu and Xena. And of course, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will try to I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that, let's continue on with the article here. Further, when pressed by a pair of readers as to whether or not her relaunch had take taken inspiration from, or in brackets had been influenced by any classic X-Men stories, unquote, Momoko explicitly answered, quote, my Ultimate X-Men isn't directly influenced by classic X-Men stories. All right. Now that aspect could be disturbing. I mean, if you're gonna self-insert yourself and not even like relate it to, you know, the established what's already been established, and yeah, that there is probably the disturbing part. Quote: I like to believe CB and Jonathan Hickman chose me because they wanted something completely new and different, unquote. She added, quote, so I think sometimes no influences is a good thing. But are you truly going with no um are you truly going with no influence? Does that mean that you're also not going to put in any any ideological things as well? You know, if that's good. If that's the case, then yeah, that's a good thing. As long as as long as you're not necessarily trying to utilize a character to push an agenda, I don't think people are going to have a problem with it. You know, self inserts don't have to be bad per se, but most of them lately have been bad. Understandably, Momoko's comments have prompted many fans to immediately write off her upcoming addition to Jonathan Hickman's reboot of the Ultimate Publishing line as nothing more than yet another case of than a comic book creator using an established IP as a platform for self therapy. Hmm. Yeah. However, in light of her body of Marvel Comics work, the creator has earned at least the benefit of the doubt that she is using her history not as a script for the series, but rather as reference material to be used in service of penning a genuine high school story. Now, that's a good point too, right there. You know, again, as long as she doesn't put her, you know, as long as she doesn't necessarily try to put herself in the story, you know, in a way, you know, in lieu or in place of the protagonist, then um, I don't think people would have an issue with that. You know, after all, as near anyone who has read them can attest, despite clearly being inspired by her own Japanese heritage and cultural history, Momoko's aforementioned Demon Days and Demon Wars outings both treat their source material with respect and genuine creativity, resulting in some of the best alternate universe stories presented by the Western industry in quite some time. Mhm. For an example of how even Momoko's changes to established characters are informed by genuine care for who and what they are, look no further than the Momokoverse incarnation of everyone's favorite mutant berserker Wolverine. Rather than a human character, Wolverine is instead presented as a literal dog. Okay, in parentheses, a narrative decision based, um, and I guess they forgot to add the rest of that. However, rather than treating the character as a joke or spending the series patting herself on the back for being um, oh so clever in her annoying fans, Momoko instead goes to great lengths to translate Wolverine's qualities into canine form, um, resulting in a loyal, gruffy looking companion whose tough exterior steals away a loving nature for those who generally care for him, especially those of the female persuasion. Yes, we've seen quite a bit of that. Taken in combination with Hickman's thus far enjoyable work in shepherding the return of the Ultimate Universe, as seen with work on Ultimate Invasion Volume 1 miniseries and the debut issue of Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3. Momoko's genuine understanding of the source material, at least in this author's opinion, warrants reserving judgment for her work on Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, at the very least until its first issue hits shelves on March 6th, which is 1 week from today, of course. In parentheses here, of course, should the series turn out to be everything readers fear, this author is also ready to accept any and all razzing regarding his being wrong in this call to caution. All right. There we go with that. Oh, yeah. As I said, I like her name. I don't know if that was actually her birth name or that's just a stage name, but I like the name Peach Momoko. Yeah. That does seem like a very interesting name. Don't know if we'd get along. We were to actually met. They say don't meet your hero. Granted, she's not a hero. As I said, I don't even really know her all that well. So, all right. Anyway, so why don't we go ahead and get ready to move on to the next article then that we're gonna go over. This, of course, is an anime, manga, movies, and television. Where are we at on time? 22 minutes, or not bad there. Huh. All right, so let's get into this one now. So, Toei teams with Amazon to produce live action Oshinoko TV series and film. Now, I have no idea what this is, so I'll be learning about it with the rest of you. Article by Nerdigans Inc., published January 29th. Let me just check one more thing before we get into that article. Just wanted to see. If All right. Yeah. All right. Alrighty then. So let's get into this. As production begins on the second season of the series, Doga Kobo produced anime adaptation, Toei and Amazon are joining forces to bring two separate live action adaptations, Oshi no Ko, to screens worldwide. All right, so as announced in an official January 24th press release, which was last Wednesday, translated by a Deep Bell, the live action project will see two studios work together to translate Akasaka and Mego Yokoyari's popular manga into the world of live action, by which by way of both a television series as set to be aired by Amazon Prime and a live action film as set to be distributed by Toei. Alongside this news, the studios also released the two projects shared cast list. All right, which will include Japanese idol Nagisa Sato as Ruby from Keep Your Hands Off um, Izoken live action film. Let's see. As Ruby, Keep Your Hands Off Izoken live action film adaptation star Asuka Saito as Uh, I live action Ao Haru Ride actor Kaito Sakurai as Aqua. Suzume lead voice actor Naoka Hana as Arima Kana. Master's daughter star Mizuki Kayashima as Akane Kurakawa. And pop star Ano as Nemcho. So I think these are the actors and actresses in question. There we go. There. Based on the original manga penned by Kaguya-sama War is Love mangaka Akasaka and illustrated by Scum's Wish artist Mengo Yokoyari, Oshinoko follows the story of countryside gynecologist Goro Amamiya as his world gets turned upside down following a sudden visit from the patient of his dreams, his favorite idol, the rising 16-year-old sensation, Ai Hoshino, who's of course voiced by Saito. Anyway, as we continue on with the article here. Unfortunately for Goro, his excitement is short lived as just moments after delivering Ai's new children, he is brutally murdered by one of the idol's more fervent stalkers. Oh boy. Really? Murdering a singer's gynecologist. The obstetrician. Yeah, that sounds like a winner, doesn't he? Oh boy. However, instead of passing on to the afterlife, Goro instead finds himself reincarnated into his dream life as one of Ai's new twins, Aqua. Um, but he's not alone in this transformation, as little does he know. His new fraternal twin, Ruby Hoshino Saito, is the reincarnation of his terminally ill patient and fellow Ai enthusiast, Sarina Tendoji, whose health failed her in his clinic on that very same night. This does sound like a very interesting story. I wouldn't mind watching this anime. But in more cruel twist of fate, Goro and Ruby's second chance at a happy life with Ai is cut tragically short, as shortly after their birth, the twins bear witness to yet another killing, that of their own mother. Whoa. Ouch. Wow. Wow. This is an interesting story. This does sound like something I might want to watch at some point. Get the chance. Uh, Seeking to avenge his mother, Aqua Goro then vows to enter the Japanese entertainment industry as an aspiring actor to find any clues to solve the mystery behind Ai's murder. Meanwhile, Ruby Serenates chooses to follow her mother's idol footsteps, even going so far as to form her own version of Ai's original group, Bikomachi. Wow. Ruby Hochina and Kanarima. As can be surmised from the brief recap, Oshino Ko explores the darkest aspects of the Japanese entertainment industry, including the topic of manga to live action adaptations. Commenting on this slightly ironic note to Toei, the aforementioned Akasaka recalled, quote, Oshinoko is work that makes various references to the world of entertainment. It also touches on the live action adaptation of manga works. I am not saying only good things, it also says critical things. So I thought that maybe Oshinoko would never be made into a live action movie. When I heard that they were going to do a live action version, I wanted to ask both the cast and the production team, quote, are you sure you are okay with this? Can't thank you enough for accepting the project, unquote. That sounds pretty cool too. The fact that the cast and crew are willing to join her on this little journey, that does sound kind of cool. Hmm. So, anyways, as we continue on with the article here, quote: I'm very interested in what it's like to create Oshinoko, which is set in the entertainment industry, not from the manga artist's point of view, but from the real scene of the entertainment industry and what the finished product will be like, unquote. They added, quote, I am sure you are interested in the same thing. I hope you will join me in seeing the answers to these questions, unquote. Hmm. As of writing, the live action Oshinoko series is currently set to hit the Amazon Prime main stage sometime during the winter of 2024 television. Basically, the season we're in right now, sometime in the next month or so here, or well, I guess for them sometime within the next couple months here before March. So the with the film version following sometime after that. Alrighty then. So there we go with that one. Some pretty good stuff there. 33 minutes, so we're making good time, I believe. All right, so getting ready to move on to the last article we're going to do tonight. And actually, I'm going to need to step away from the computer for a moment again because so I will be right back. I'll be right back. So now let's get back to the articles here. We have one more article to go through. And again, in the continuation of the localization saga here, anime censor. Netflix's English localization of One Piece, which I believe is handled by Crunchyroll and by extension for the former members of Funimation, of course, um, of One Piece anime changes term new comma into new trans. Um, article by Nerdigans Inc. Um, published June 30th, published basically earlier today. A very garish looking character right there. In the latest case of the Western anime industry overriding a Japanese creator's original creative vision with their own and ironically stereotyped based worldviews, the subtitles to Netflix's in house Japanese to English localization of Toei Animation's One Piece anime adaptation have been found to feature a loaded change to series creator Eiichiro Oda's concept of new comma. Ever since its launch in 1999, One Piece has been and continues to be one of the most genuinely diverse series in the history of anime and manga. Its large roster of characters and locales offering representation to nearly um, every possible identity on the face of the earth. Obviously, this includes the LGBT plus community, who Oda most notably included in his shonen adventure story by way of the Kamabaka Kingdom, resident population of Okama. Basically, that's where Ivankov is from, right? They're the queen of. uh, named after the Japanese slang word used to refer to not just gay men, but specifically those who are particularly effeminate and engage in cross dressing. The uh, Okama peoples consist entirely of cross dressers, drag queens, and transgender women. Um, all of whom swear fealty to their own Rocky Horror Picture Show homage of a leader, Emporio Ivankov. Hmm. Yeah. But anyways, however, thanks to his active support of Luffy's um, father, Monkey D. Dragon, and his revolutionary army, Ivankov eventually comes to find himself captured by the world government and subsequently thrown into their, in smaller quotes, ends of the earth, on smaller quote, prison facility impelled down, and as such removed from his fellow Kama. Not one, not one to let a bad situation keep him down. Ivankov quickly accommodates to his new cage by forming New Kama Land, a secretive, smaller quote, home away from home, unsmaller quote, hidden away inside the forgotten caverns of Impel Down's lower basement levels, and where he and his ragtag population of like-minded prisoners can find a reprieve from their sentences. But despite their similarities to the Kamabaka kingdom's Okama, the new Kamas differ from their brethren in one key way, as whereas the former were limited to identifying as their new identities through simple cosmetic changes, the latter's exposure to Vanka's Horu Horu no Mi devil fruit. Again, this particular devil fruit gives Ivankov the power to basically change their physical gender on demand. Basically, in other words, she doesn't even need, like in Rama 1/2. She doesn't need hot or cold water to do it. She can just force her hormones to change. And with that devil, which grants the user the ability to change a given subject's core genetic makeup via hormone manipulation. It has allowed them to transcend gender by experiencing life in both uh, a male and female bodies. Again, they forgot the M there, little typo. As declared by Ivankov in One Piece chapter 537, quote, a man, a woman, and Okama, you should be whatever you want. The borders between genders, I know, we left them far behind. This is our new humanity, new Kama. Yet, though Oda was explicit in his definition of new Kama as being associated with those who underwent gender change on a genetic level, thanks to Ivankov, um, Netflix still chose to ignore this definition in favor of, in smaller quotes, transgender representation in their subtitling to One Piece's 441st episode. Luffy revives, Iva-san's jailbreak plan begins. Yeah, I've seen the dub version of this episode. Of course, this was long before they even thought about messing around with this like they're doing now, or messing around with anything like this they're doing now, to say the least. So we're already at the 45-minute mark, huh? I guess we have made some. Yeah. Yep. All right. Therein, following his recovery from Impel Down Chief Warden Magellan's poison, Luffy tells Ivankov that as part of his plan to break into the prison and save his brother Portuguese the Ace, his enemy turned ally, Mr. Bon Clay, and Okama himself, had hoped to rescue his kingdom's leader in the process. Offered an invite to come aboard by Luffy, Ivankov initially rejects the opportunity on the grounds that his compatriot Dragon has yet to make a move, and thus he wishes to avoid tripping over the revolutionary leader's carefully laid plans. However, the hesitation soon turns to shock when Luffy reveals that not only does he know of Dragon, but he is his own flesh and blood biological son. Putting two and two together, that this familial connection also means that Ace is Dragon's son. Ivankov quickly changes his tune and decides that he must do whatever it takes to save his allies' children. Um, Now, those who have, of course, watched One Piece, you know what the actual deal is there, but I won't spoil it for anybody else who hasn't watched the show or read manga yet. Um, Anyways, as we continue on here, Ivankov then informs his new Kama land subjects that in service of this goal, he will be joining Luffy and venturing deeper into the belly of Impel Down, invites all who are willing to join them to ready themselves for a potentially fatal battle run. And it is here that Netflix's alteration occurs. In the original English subtitles for the episodes, as produced by Funimation, the Ivankov's rallying cry is met by a number of agreeing shouts from his followers, including one who proudly declares, quote, "It's a new beginning for the people of New Kamaland." But in contradicting Oda's long-established lore, Netflix's subtitles for the series instead have the eager warrior declare, quote, it's a new beginning for the new trans, unquote, which, as noted above, completely throws out Oda's nuanced concept in favor of taking a side in one of the Western world's current hot button issues. Yeah, I don't really think that Oda would be too happy with that idea of them hijacking his IP for that. Unfortunately, no comparison point exists between this alteration and the original manga, as in the initial depiction of the scene presented by Oda, Banka's rallying cry is met not by outright support, but a brief moment of shock and hesitation from his followers over the suddenness of his decision. However, it should be noted that a card directly named after Ivankov's Secret Paradise, featured in Bandai's One Piece trading card game, uses the quote unquote new Kama translation in all its official printings. So at the time of this writing, Shueisha, Toei Animation, Ichiro Oda, or Netflix have yet to comment on the localization change. Yeah, I would imagine if Oda is aware of it, he may not be entirely thrilled with the idea. But then again, since he kind of put a transvestite character in there in the first place, maybe he doesn't mind, But I guess we won't know for certain until we hear something, or if we hear anything from him. You know, does he even know what's I mean, is he even aware of what's going on? But that's been but anyways, um as we now as we now get ready to move on to the wrestling wrap up here as we start to wind things down on the show here. Hope everybody's been enjoying the show thus far. As we get ready to move on to the next piece of niche history here, or not niche history, actually. The So we're gonna just go over some quick little tidbits, including last night's Raw. So the basically the Raw here following Royal Rumble saw the opening match saw the Judgment Day of Damian Priest and Finn Balor defend and retain the unified tag titles over DIY of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark defeated the former women's unified tag team title tag champions Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Jey Uso defeated Bronson Reed. Gunther retained the Intercontinental title over Kofi Kingston in what was considered a pretty game match. In a non-title tag team match, the current women's unified tag champions, the Kabuki Warriors of Asuka and Kairi Sane of Damage Control, defeated Natalya and Tegan Nox. And the main event saw Drew McIntyre defeat Sami Zayn. Now, some other bit of news items of CM Punk came out to address the fans following his injury, in which it's now been confirmed he won't be able to make WrestleMania. So that's gonna so now that's gonna add to some drama in terms of which title Cody might decide to go after. But with all that being said as well, Drew McIntyre confronted Punk and even beat him down working over Punk's injured arm. And also there was a confrontation between, of course, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, as Seth Rollins kind of challenged the American Nightmare to consider maybe going after his title, kind of calling Roman's title a Hollywood title, as it were, or titles. Do you want a Hollywood title or do you want a workers title? Comparing the two belts or the two titles, or technically three, because of course Roman has both the Universal and the WWE Championship, where Seth has the World title. So you got three big titles being competed on two different shows there. So, and of course, in other news surrounding WWE, WWE may be looking to do to Vince McMahon what they did to Chris Benoit after the tragedy of the Benoit family, looking to possibly erase McMahon's existence from the WWE, TKO holdings, all that, in lieu of this latest lawsuit. Also, it's also been said that Brock Lesnar may not now be coming back due to this, because even though he's not being specifically sued, nor was he named per se, he was kind of hinted at in the suit as well. Now on to some AEW news real quick here, of course, before we prepare to finish off the show here. Of course, tomorrow night's Dynamite will be let me just tonight's Dynamite, which will continue the build up towards March 3rd's Revolution event. which will happen on this Wednesday. On this Wednesday's Dynamite, in a first-time match ever, Jon Moxley will be taking on Jeff Hardy in a match that many are looking forward to. In a non-title match, Kyle Fletcher of the current Ring of Honor television champion and member of the Don Callis family will be taking on Chris Jericho. In a pair of Dealer's Choices matchups, Adam Page will be taking on Toa Leona from Mogul Embassy. And Swerve Strickland apparently they now are having him face a mystery opponent. Now, as such, in these Dealer Choices matches, for Adam Page's match, Swerve Strickland will gets the opportunity to decide what kind of match it's going to be. For Swerve Strickland's match, Adam Page will get to decide what kind of match it's going to be. And in a women's match, two pretty well-known workers, and Taya Valkyrie and Deonna Purrazzo, will be taking each other on. Well, two former women's world champions battle it out. So there we go with that. So now, with all that being said, now let's move on to this day in Niche history. Today being Tuesday, January 30th, 2023. Let's take a look back at this day in Niche history. Now, first off, I'm going to head back 75 years ago today. On this date, 75 years ago today, premiering initially on WNBT in New York, which is known today as WNBC TV in New York. The Adventures of Pow Wow, which was eventually brought to Captain Kangaroo's show. Adventures of Pow Wow would make its debut on this date in 1949, 75 years ago today. Tempe-Toons Adventures of Pow Wow would premiere on WNBT TV on this date 75 years ago today. So with that, getting ready to move on here to the next piece of niche history. On the next piece of niche history, on this date in 5 years ago today, with a series that's still running to this date. The 270th issue of Betty and Veronica Jumbo Comics Double Digest went on sale on this date 5 years ago today. It sold for $6.99 with 192 pages. So on this date 5 years ago today, Betty and Veronica Jumbo Comics Double Digest number 270 premiered on this date in 2019, 5 years ago today. So with that, and 2019 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. And also on this date in 2019, as soon as I grab this, Creators and Pax OVA, It's My Life, based on the manga series, was released on this date 5 years ago today. So 5 years ago today, Creators and Pack, the OVA, based on the manga series It's My Life, premiered on this date 5 years ago today. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back here with more Niche news tomorrow. Of course, don't forget this Friday I have Apex from Apex Comics coming in to go through the historical comic retrospect with me. This week we'll be continuing our look back to January 1940, which we'll be looking at books that went on sale from Lev Gleason. We'll be looking at Silver Streak Volume 1, Issue 3. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow and every night that we're on. So until then, bye!